Folks in the room, I think we're back live. So they come. Katie, are you out there? If you can hear us, can you just turn your camera on or something, or give us a signal?
You got it, thumbs up.
I can hear you guys.
Thank you.
Alrighty. I think we're good to go.
Alrighty then. Welcome everybody to the May workshop for the Colorado State Board of Land Commissioners. We're excited today to spend a fair amount of time reviewing what's probably the final draft of our strategic plan. We're looking forward to a robust discussion. A note to members of the audience, public audience, this is not the session where we'll be entertaining any public comment or questions. The time for that will be tomorrow when the strategic plan is presented as a final action item for the commissioners. So with that preview, I'll turn it over to Director Rosemarie. Oh, I guess I'm going to do roll call. All right, commissioners, Mr. Scanlon. Here. Mr. Heath. Here. Commissioner
Or
I
haven't made an impression yet, have I?
Hall of Fame.
You showed up.
Hall of Fame.
It'll come another year and it'll come.
here.
And Commissioner Pribble.
Here.
Thank you, and the chair's here. So we have a full complement, and with that, I'll turn it over to the director.
Wonderful. Thank you, Chair Probe. So we are thrilled to again be with Government Performance Solutions, or GPS. Brian Poole and Aaron Ulrich have continued to amaze us with their fortitude and insights and just all around excellent work. And so I think that Brian is going to walk us through what we have done since we last visited with you all about this issue at the April 20th special board workshop. So that will be fine.
Yes, thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much for your time today. We're delighted to share some edits and some adjustments based on the feedback that we have received and walk through those in increments, right? Just piece by piece, and make sure we understand the origin of those and sort of allow you to see the red lines essentially of what has changed since we were last together. Make sure that the why behind those is clear and understand if there are any additional thoughts or comments really on the core elements of our strategic plan. So without further ado. All right, we do have three essential components here for you today. One is just a refresh on our approach. We'll go very quickly through that. Then again, we'll focus on those updates and the discussion of each. And then we'll talk really about what is the outline for the actual strategic plan. So if you recall, as we look into the end of this fiscal year in June 2026, your current strategic plan is ending. And the opportunity here was to really look deep and in an inclusive process across the state, across all of your stakeholders, and throughout the organization to understand what are some of the ideas and concepts that have powered you and given you success that should be retained? What are some of the areas that need a little bit extra attention over the next 5 years? Some of these conversations are really deep and controversial in some cases. Others have been very easy and flow from a deep consensus. So as we finally get to this point and where we're pulling the last pieces together, it's a really exciting point. And the timing, of course, here is important because we've got new director, new leadership, new board members, and there's just a lot going on in Colorado, if I can say, and the world that influences how and where you might make your investments.
I'm curious about your statement that some of the comments were deep and controversial. Can you elaborate on that, please?
Yeah, I think it's fair to say, as we think back, well, I can get into some of the details, but certainly we've heard from over 100 people, right, in terms of where people thinking about where should we make investments. Some have said we should make deep investments where we have in the past. Others have said we should be far more innovative and do new things into the future. Others have said, for example, that we should sell off some of our assets as a state and as a board. So there have been a number of opinions that have been expressed, and I don't want to minimize any of those. Now, we can't do all of those at the same time, I think is really the point. And so for us to acknowledge that and to have worked through the process that we have to come to a consensus around the core elements here that should be included in the plan is quite a feat. Yeah. So again, we started in October with the project plan and started to inform the strategy through interviews and focus groups all through November into January. And then we started working through our retreats and our workshops with you all and the strategy team and have essentially distilled through all of those various inputs and those and the feedback that we've received down to some of the top themes, the opportunities, and prioritizing those, actually building out the strategic framework for the actual plan itself, looking at some of those initiatives and priorities to evolve and to build out, the concepts of those and when they might approve or when they might initiate and when they might be completed. All of that results into a high-level roadmap, and we have all of that to share. So there's certainly some small group work that needs to happen from here on out to build out the details of these and a long road to implement the strategy. And to that end, we help work through a governance framework and some concepts here to make sure that you are faithful to the work that has been done, and that as new priorities and new information emerge, you have some flexibility together to make some adjustments to that plan. But we hope that's in a structured manner on an annual basis and provides staff an opportunity to think about, how can we know that we're measuring the right things and demonstrate the progress, and where that seems to be needing additional assistance or adjustments, that you have an opportunity to weigh in on that in the future. We'll have been, as we finish through the next month or so, right, we'll be finalizing the framework, we hope, and certainly the core content here. And then all of that will move into actually developing the full the plan and the document, and then we'll talk about how we release that into the wider world. So just some really high level concepts that are important to make. I mentioned this earlier, but we have spoken with almost 100 various stakeholders, partners, staff in various formats and forums. And we've had opportunity to go back to many of those and get additional feedback, either via email or in other settings. So we feel at this point we've really exhausted, in the sense, the effort to reach out to many of these areas, and we've been able to integrate that feedback into the document that we have. The key themes and insights, which are the basis for this, have been through a number of rounds of review by yourselves and staff and leadership, and this staff, the staff in particular, have had an opportunity, I would say, in an unusual way, to individually participate, which we don't often get. The size of your organization really has allowed us and multiple occasions to interact with really everyone who wanted to on multiple steps. And that has been maybe one of the hallmarks here that's unusual in terms of sometimes the work we do, we don't actually get that level of involvement and repeated involvement into a strategic plan, as well as obviously your external stakeholders, so on. But at the last point here is really at the strategy that we have is responsive to all of that, and will continue to refine and improve your mission over the next 5 years. Okay, so this is the strategy map. We presented this last time. The goal here with this is strategy on a page, if you like, a single view of all of the commitments, and both at the sort of purpose level in blue at the top, and at the actionable and deliverable level in the light green below. So if we start at the top here, we think about first our vision. That's the aspirational statements that we commit to everyone across the state, all of the stakeholders, that thriving and resilient state trust lands fund the needs of Colorado's current and future public school students. The mission: we protect and enhance Colorado state trust lands with ingenuity and care to perpetually generate reasonable and consistent revenue for public schools. We have added a tagline, as we talked about last time, of resilient lands, enduring revenue, better schools for Colorado. That is the essence of the contract that we're establishing through the vision and the mission. And we also have reworded and rethought the foundational principle, and to one overall principle: we thoughtfully steward trust assets to deliver intergenerational benefits. And we now have a mnemonic: steward, which we'll talk about in a minute. Most important here for the strategy is that these overarching why statements: why do we exist? Who are we? What are we here to do? And why would people want to join us in this mission that we have? Those are those key elements above, and they should inspire and constrain in some ways the goals that we have and the objectives that would help us define those goals. And we've selected 3 overall goals, left to right: enduring revenue, then resilient land, and then connecting people. These 3 sort of legs of the stool, if you like, independently and collectively describe what is important to you, what are your commitments that you're making over the next 5 years, and outline the level of effort and the level of engagement that you seek to move forward with. So let's start on the left with enduring revenue. Distribute dependable and growing cash flows for current and future beneficiaries. It's a simple, straightforward statement, but it contains a lot here in terms of what your role is in the state. The objectives, then there are 5 major elements of this, and we'll break these down a little bit further, but certainly optimize the performance of your trust assets, number 1. Diversify the revenue streams across the trust. Align your asset management strategies to ensure increasing cash flows. Support strategies that increase the long-term earning power of the trust. And expand partnerships and markets that enhance trust revenue. So the 5 there combine to roll up into the one goal of just distributing and dependable growing cash flows for your current and your future beneficiaries. The second goal: resilient land. Here we pivot a little bit from the revenue view of the world, if you like, to the land view. And we think here about advancing the economic productivity of those trust lands through sound stewardship, and including protecting and enhancing the beauty, natural value, open space, and wildlife habitat for this and future generations. Here we're talking about 5 specific objectives to achieve. Number 1, invest in climate resilience and ecosystem health with biodiversity. Strengthen management standards across the state trust lands. Align incentives and partnerships to promote sustainable land management. Expand the use of data science and innovation and experience to guide land management decisions, and demonstrate improvements in land health and productivity. Our third goal, connecting people. Ensure long-term organizational excellence by empowering staff and building trust among diverse networks. The objectives here, invest in the people, systems, and tools needed to manage the trust effectively. Foster a culture of collaboration, innovation, and continuous improvement. Ensure clear, transparent, consistent governance and decision-making. Build trust, alignment, and coordination across our networks. And increase the understanding of the trust's value and impact across. Well, that's a lot of words. These have been through a few reviews, right? And folks have had an opportunity to make some adjustments on these. We'll talk a little bit about what those are, those red lines. But I think it's important to address a couple other thoughts before we take some feedback. When it came to the mission, the vision and mission drafts, we did make some edits based on feedback. We had originally and other beneficiaries at the tail end of the mission. There was some discussion around that, how that detracted from a bit around the main beneficiary of public schools, and that the vast majority of the resources do go to public schools. There are some others who technically could be mentioned, but it was felt that people related mostly to the public school. No changes to the vision and the foundational principle. We reworded a bit of this from "we thoughtfully steward trust assets for our beneficiaries." We reworded that to the "we thoughtfully steward trust assets to deliver intergenerational benefits." And the tagline remained the same. Now, we mentioned the foundational principle and that adjustment there in red to deliver intergenerational benefits. While we struggled as a group sometimes to define and understand the value of the word stewardship, it went sort of through a few rounds of discussion, both from the feedback we received here and in staff feedback and others. Ultimately, as we thought back on what is the word and the concept that actually is the contract we think we have with the state and the value of the trusts, it comes back to steward and the verb of "we thoughtfully steward trust assets." And there have been some comments about what does that mean? What is it? What is something beyond the word? How do we define that a little bit? And so we chose the mnemonic here to really express that we start with our beneficiaries, we team with our partners across the state, that we engage our staff, we welcome evolution, we achieve the impacts and respect the land, and we deliver revenue. So as we work our way through that version of our foundational principle, you get more color, more background, and more information on what that actually means. All right. So again, edits in red from the last version here. But when we really think about the enduring revenue that distribute dependable and growing cash flows for current and future beneficiaries, these five now that we highlighted at the top have another descriptive component here and a more specific objective description here. So for example, optimize the performance of trust assets. What do we mean here? Well, strategically manage the land, the energy, material, mineral, financial, and other assets to ensure long-term value for beneficiaries. Diversify revenue streams across the trust. We mean to expand and balance existing revenue sources to strengthen financial resilience over time. When we say align asset management strategies to ensure perpetual and increasing cash flows, we mean implement an asset allocation model to guide our decisions around acquiring, developing, conserving, and this change here, depleting or disposing of assets. That should reflect some of the feedback we received from this group as well. Support strategies that increase the long-term earning power of the trust. We mean grow and protect the whole trust, especially the permanent fund. And expand partnerships and markets that enhance trust revenue. Here we mean to collaborate with public and private partners to realize new opportunities across the trust assets. For resilient land, some additional changes in red, rewording the subheader here to advance the economic productivity of trust lands through sound stewardship, including protecting, enhancing the beauty, natural values, open space, and wildlife habitat for this and future generations. That's materially different than before, so the entire framework there is in red. We've reordered the objectives here for purpose. And we begin now with invest in climate resilience, ecosystem health, and biodiversity. And then we make reference to advanced land management, not approaches, but strategies that protect and enhance land value by restoring ecosystems, enhancing biodiversity, and increasing resilience to climate change and extreme weather events. No changes to number 2, strengthen management across state trust lands. Establish clear expectations for accountability for sustainable land management practices. Land management that protects natural values to generate long-term economic productivity. Number 3, align incentives and partnerships to promote sustainable land management. Work with lessees, agencies, and partners to advance land use practices and leverage resources that improve land health and value. And we've added the statement, support innovations in sustainable agriculture on state trust lands in light of some of your feedback as well. 4 is unchanged. Expand the use of data science, innovation, and experience to guide land management decisions, leveraging research, monitoring emerging technologies, and diverse knowledge to improve land management practices and inform long-term planning. And then 5, demonstrate improvements in land health and productivity. Here we've reworded the back half essentially from monitor and quantify progress towards land management goals. We used to have the to ensure healthy ecosystems, et cetera there. And now we go with and employ adaptive management to ensure healthy ecosystems, protect and enhance the economic value of trust. One more. A lot of change here. We went from connect people to connecting. Felt like that was more active in its nature. So we have ensure long-term organizational excellence by empowering staff and building trust among diverse networks. And then we have reordered the strategic objectives here just to sort of give a sense of scale or growth from investing in the people, systems, and tools needed to manage the trust effectively. So within the 4 walls of the land board, if you like, fostering a culture of communication, collaboration, innovation, and continuous improvement, empowering staff to contribute ideas, solve problems, and adapt to evolving challenges and share the rationale for new directions. Through clear, transparent, consistent governance and decision-making. Maintain operational consistency, best practice standards, and communication that support effective implementation. The reordering here is really number 5. We moved to the bottom as we move from the communication and the connections inside the staff at the top, and you see this sort of gradual increasing expansion of those networks to include in 5 the increased understanding of the trust value and impact across Colorado. So now including all the external stakeholders, for example. And importantly here, increased support for how the land board's work delivers results for beneficiaries across the state. So, I'll pause here.
See if there's, yeah.
Happy to go back to any of these areas with red line. Trying to be responsive to everything we've heard last time as much as possible, keeping to the themes that we learned and developed as a group before, but now really articulating in a more fine-tuned.
So let me just ask about the process. So if we have thoughts, do we talk about those now or?
Yes. This is sort of the workshopping, any final changes, refinements, questions, problems.
This is kind of it.
So after today, then we would make whatever changes if there are any, or maybe it's just a thorough discussion. Then we might make a change, and then tomorrow we will take the action on this plan or a slightly revised. So,
I have two or three
Please.
in what we have covered so far. And I guess let's start with the cover. Envisioning futures, custom solutions beyond the drawing board. What do those three things really mean?
Oh, that's for government performance
Yeah.
solutions. Those are our taglines.
Those are your tagline.
Yeah, you can join us in those things. But but under means no obligation.
But-
Not putting on that.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Product.
That's how we look at the
Okay.
world.
All right, good.
To help you look at your world.
All right, good. And so the next was on page 12.
Sure.
And I think this came from one of the public comments that I read, but someone I think appropriately noted that we really don't manage the land, particularly the energy and the minerals, and that maybe inserting something that talks about with partners.
Okay.
I don't have wording for that, but I thought it was a good separation.
yes, Director, I'm trying to find, Josie, is
It's
it
on page 12
objective
and on
number one?
objective 1,
Okay,
where we talk about strategically manage land, energy, mineral. And we can manage land, but we really don't manage the energy and minerals. And I don't know if you have some.
I'm gonna turn to Director Regina.
Thank you, Chair Frobe, and thank you, Commissioner Heath. So that is specifically about managing our assets. So it's not an operational form of management. It's that in our portfolio, substantial assets include land,
Okay,
mineral, the permanent fund, water. And so that's what that's intended to get at. We included energy and in order to include solar, wind, and geothermal resources. So I think if we were to make that provision, it would substantially change the intent here, which is really to look at the assets themselves, not to operate the assets.
I would second that too, in the sense of we're more like an asset manager, which implements management, either our own or through others. So at a high level, we are a manager, but an asset manager of trust assets.
okay. All right, I'll accept that. And then the other question I had was on page 14. And
No.
when we talk about on number 5, beneficiaries. This is, we just talk about it as beneficiaries.
Where are you? Could you help me?
Page 14, number 5.
The last one in connecting people.
Oh,
in goal 3,
Increase the trust.
number 5.
I think it's page 12, isn't it, Joseph?
It's page 12 in the.
You are
green,
right.
Page 14.
You're absolutely
There's
right.
two.
Yeah.
At the
Okay.
bottom, bottom it says page 14.
Okay.
At the top it says
It's
page
14 in the board packet and it's 12. in the-
Number 5 of goal 3.
5, yeah, where it
Okay.
says we increase support for the work that delivers results for beneficiaries across the state.
Right.
And we had talked some before about putting education in there or schools. And I know earlier you did change beneficiaries, and I just wonder whether you had intended to do this one as well.
In this, just for my part, when we talked about 5 here, we were really concerned that there are times when people misunderstand sort of what the trust is here to do. And there's an education and a learning process, an outreach process to communicate, what our value is here and what impact we have across the state. So the goal ultimately is to to have people independent of us when we're not in the room advocating for the work we do. And making sure that they understand and can communicate themselves the value of the work. And how that delivers results for beneficiaries of all kinds, including certainly education. But I'd look for other thoughts as well.
Director Heath, what I'm thinking, where your question comes from is at the high level in the, our tagline,
We actually changed.
we
it, so
say just,
did it.
we just say,
Public school.
Public school.
public schools.
Mhm.
And that's at our mission level, and we chose to kind of almost like
Right.
round it in
Uh-huh.
that sense. Down here, this being an objective under a goal is is in my view, we're expanding it, results for the beneficiaries, we broadened it again because the work that we do and we want to demonstrate is for all of them, the prison and the penitentiary and everything else. So it's sort of at two different levels. I
Yeah.
can see why you're bringing it
Well,
up.
I appreciate that under the mission in page 8 at the top and 10 at the bottom, that we took out, and we just said, our mission is to do all this work for public schools, and we removed and other beneficiaries. So I guess that's where I was coming, to be consistent with that.
So you're thinking here it might be better, again, knowing that we do work for and add value for other beneficiaries and other trusts. But you're saying here, why wouldn't we, if we're going to be increasing understanding, the world needs to know about how our work brings results for common schools.
Right,
Public
or
school.
education,
Or
whichever
education,
is
right?
the language.
But you're saying, yeah, narrow it down here. I see.
Or add in public schools
Mhm.
and other supported beneficiaries.
Mhm.
Other thoughts of the commissioners or director?
And I'm going back to what we came to change on the mission, which is pretty significant that it says generate reasonable and consistent income revenue for public schools.
Mhm.
Period. So anyway, those are.
I'm gonna echo Joseph's point. I think I think it's okay to add a little more detail here, but I would add the word public schools
Mhm.
and other supported beneficiaries. Because we do in fact do that. I don't think it's necessary at the front because our biggest beneficiary are public schools.
Thank you.
But you could add in that detail here.
And I mean, Emily, not to put you on the spot, but
Ma'am.
that since a lot of your work will be using this plan and
Yeah.
other opportunities to amplify this message, do you have thoughts on this change of emphasizing public schools or education, whichever, and then other, what'd you call it, stated or named beneficiaries?
Supported.
Supported.
I think that's a great question. I think we are the state land board staff and our commissioners are the people who are going to be looking at this document the most frequently. So when I'm thinking about how I'm going to break this up and use it in communications, I think there'll be a clear context set around who we mean by beneficiaries. I think that's part of the storytelling job that I have of defining why we do this work is who we do it for. So at this granular level, I don't feel strongly about defining those beneficiaries here. I think we've done it successfully throughout the document. So this feels like I can go either way on it.
Okay. Well, I don't, I myself think adding public schools in here or educate, I think public schools, because that's actually what it says, or common schools is what it says in the Constitution. So I think that's actually a good call, there's just as one person. Yes, Director.
Thanks, Chair Foe. I also think it's a good suggestion. So I think something like for public schools and other beneficiaries. And a really compelling reason, I think, to keep other beneficiaries in this is exemplified by the 1332 process right now, where an important part of the discussion are our saline and internal improvements trusts, where the beneficiary of state parks. And I feel it would behoove us to really increase understanding of how the state land board is benefiting state parks every day through that relationship. So I think adding public schools is a good idea, but I would keep the other beneficiaries.
I would like to insert though the qualifier on other named or trust or other
Mhm.
or beneficiaries of other trusts, just again, to make sure that it's harkening back to our responsibilities to manage for trust beneficiaries. So where does that leave us in terms of, we're gonna insert results for public schools and other trust beneficiaries?
That would work. Yep. Yep.
Thank you.
Yep, we're making live edits here. So,
So I have increased support for how the SLB's work delivers results for public schools and other trust beneficiaries across the state.
I think it's great.
Good.
thank you. Yeah, good discussion.
Commissioner Harvey?
Please.
On goal number 2. I was kind of wondering about that. That's page 11 on top. Advance the economic productivity of trust lands through sound stewardship, etc. I wonder if, since we already have enduring revenue as goal 1, I wonder if instead of advance the economic productivity in goal 2, it should be improve the health of trust lands. Since most of this stuff below it is more about taking care of the land than it is about generating more income. And since, the first goal number 1 already has generating income.
So this is Ed Hamrick. That language was pulled from the Constitution and was part of being responsive to the desire to ground the goals in the language of the Constitution more directly. Ultimately, I mean, as a lawyer, I am more comfortable when you guys hew this closer to the language of the Constitution. Ultimately, the language of the Constitution is your mission. That defines your mission. Whatever you guys end up saying here doesn't change what your mission is. Doesn't change what the Constitution requires. So, from that standpoint, that probably gives you a little more latitude, knowing that you're not actually changing the constitutional requirements. So, take that with what you will. Like I say, as your counsel and representing your other counsel, we all feel good about that, the way it's written so far.
Well, I don't want to throw a wrench into the whole works, but if we put the economic productivity on the enduring revenue side, or does the enduring revenue not capture what the Constitution says?
Well, it's not that the enduring revenue doesn't capture, but the essence of the Constitution is producing economic productivity through sound stewardship of the land, not managing the land for land health in an end of itself.
Even with the 96 stewardship laws or statutes?
This language is directly from the 96 amended language.
Okay.
So, again, I'm not trying to tell you can't make changes and what the impact of them are. Just when we met last time, was an expressed desire for the language in these goals to mirror the language in the Constitution. And this does that. And again, from my perspective, because I have a different perspective than you as commissioners.
Right.
I want to be clear that, but from my perspective, this is very good because it does, it quotes the Constitution basically. And so it doesn't allow any opening for someone to argue that you guys are not paying attention to your constitutional mandates as evidenced by your strategic plan. That said, this isn't the only way to write this. So,
Well,
that's both the goals and why I, as your counsel, am happy with it. But that was the goal of this change.
Okay. Got it. And then on 3, I wonder if there should be a number or a sentence about educating commissioners. I mean, we do get educated just about every meeting, which is great. But we have staff in here, we have clients, but it doesn't really say anything directly, does it, about commissioners in terms of connection. And I think it goes without saying that these every meeting we come to, we get educated. But I still wonder if there should be a 6th item saying something about giving commissioners, the information they need, the documentation, that sort of thing. I don't know how you'd word it, but that'd be helpful. Thought?
I think that's a good idea. What if we just added on number 2, empower staff and the board?
That would be fine.
I see some nods.
I don't see anything.
I don't want our own line.
I think that that's a really good call. It doesn't really reflect us at all, and we need support.
Yeah.
We need the ability to bring new ideas, so.
Yeah. That's good.
And then the last thing was deeper into the document, page 22. Well, page 20 in the green on top. Just the accountability framework. And I don't know if you need specific language, but I was just thinking, sometimes these things, you write a really good strategic plan and it drifts or you don't refer to it. And so I wonder if once or twice a year, staff should write a summary of how we're, meeting these 3 big goals. And it probably doesn't need to be too elaborate, but, how are we meeting improving revenue, resilient land, connecting people? I don't know if it's once a year or twice a year or something, but just so we remember this plan.
Can I offer a comment? Sort of by happenstance, we do already discuss it with the commissioners twice a year.
Okay.
We build out our annual business plan, which we anchor to our current strategic plan.
Okay.
To say under these pieces, here are the activities we're going to take.
And
at the end of the year, we report out what we did.
Okay. As part of the business plan.
Yeah. Inviting potentially some additional work. We could always do a mid-year touch base too, just see how things are going. Happy to serve the desires of the.
No, I guess I didn't realize the business plan, but a lot of it based on the strategic plan.
Yeah, we've been actually quite so literal as we diagram it directly linking. Say for this item number.
Okay, I better read the docket better.
And then those get poured into our annual performance plans as well.
Okay.
Yeah. And also we've had a really nice practice of referencing each of our strategic planning goals when we bring board action to your attention and information items.
Okay.
And so you do get to, hopefully you get to see, and we can explore being more visible in it, how we're aligning directly to the strategic plan.
Yeah. No, I didn't realize that tie.
And policies. How policies support the plan.
I think that's right, Nick. We talked through the development of this, that your annual plan, right, would reflect the investments and the choices that you're initially, your first year of your business plan would reflect what is, from a dependency perspective, most important to accomplish early in the process, from which you can build into the second year and third year out. And an accountability framework in there is designed to do just that. So we hope that's visible to you.
Okay.
I will say for all of these reasons, this organization does better with their strategic plan and keeping a living document than most.
Yeah.
Cause
I second that.
I have done strategic plans and then you go, that was fabulous, and you don't look at it again, and this is not that. So I really appreciate you raising the point because it is embedded in a lot of different ways. And sometimes it's a reference, sometimes it's directly like, hey, we aren't meeting the plan with the way we wanted to, so we're revising a policy.
If I could just comment, we do this work for a lot of agencies,
Yeah.
and I would agree, you're uniquely good at this annual planning and reallocating resources. Period.
So did we agree to add in word up on number 2? That to empower staff?
Yes.
I saw nods. Yeah.
Can I make a small word suggestion that is empower, rather than board is commissioners? Because to avoid the organizational versus
They're actually.
segment.
Empower staff and commissioners.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
The benefit of being last to try to comment is, well, done a wonderful job of addressing other thoughts I've had. I told Nicole this last week when we had our regular conference. The test for me, and I invite you to apply, fellow commissioners and senior staff, the same test. Yeah, is this document sufficiently ambitious, bold, and unconstraining to achieve the most innovative or inventive or creative application of our constitutional duty? Very simply said, does it give us permission to do anything we may possibly want to do the next 5 years? That's all. No, I don't think there's a civil cause of action if we don't. But I suppose there's a press release out there for some political threat, right?
I kind of love where Jim's going, and I'm throwing up my own wrench because I've been reaching out to all these NGOs to connect this organization to. Just as it started with the survey, but quite candidly, I'm like, we should be networking with these NGOs and learning from them. And one of the pitches I've been making is, hey, this is a great organization and we're really interested in expanding our portfolio beyond fossil fuels and want to look at how we can be the organization that is always exploring clean energy opportunities. We're the ones that we want to be on kind of the cutting edge around what else is out there, and particularly the low carbon clean energy environment. And honestly, I wouldn't mind putting something in there. Like, we should be where we can innovate, and we have stuff in here about climate, but why, to Jim's point, why can't we be the place where we innovate around this, that we pilot this? And I feel like sometimes, I'll just say it, Colorado's behind. We're behind other states that are being much more bold around taking this agenda on. And candidly, we can't even agree to a clean energy standard. It's like, why? I don't understand. Some other places are much more, they're ahead of the game, and we won't even talk about internationally where we're behind. We're falling rapidly a generation behind. So why can't we be the place that explores those opportunities? And we're where people come to if they have an innovative idea for us to get in to these kinds of new, particularly around energy generation, because that's where this is going to happen, where you need land and you need public lands to do this in a way that you can actually result in impact. I wouldn't mind doing something like that, Jim, because we need to be somewhere that is open to innovation and kind of thinking in a different way.
I agree with you, but the challenge of new ideas is you don't know what they are till you have them. So you can't enumerate in a plan, here's all the possible new ideas that we might have in the next
Right.
5 years.
I don't think we should. Yeah.
So I look at a strategic plan, and I say, does it give me permission to do authorization to do anything I wish to do or may wish to do, yet unforeseen, unpredicted, unknown out there? I mean, who knows what
Right.
new innovative technology may come along with respect to ecosystems management
Who
or
knows?
carbon capture and storage, or, you know, Lord knows what. So you don't want to be, you both want permission and on the flip side, I don't want any constraints. I don't want anybody to, if we try to do something innovative that nobody thought of 2 years ago, and somebody said, well, that's not your strategic plan. Not that it makes that, not that we care, but, you know, again, it's not likely that it's any legal cause of action. So I wouldn't agonize over it either.
I wouldn't either, but I think there's some statement to what may, and it is around enduring revenue, that we're a place that is open to innovative and new potential new technologies and ideas around how to create enduring revenue for the trust involving clean energy technologies or something along those lines. And you may have better words, but you know, we work in energy in my organization, and we hear a lot about what's going on though in the United States and internationally, and there's tons happening at a very fast rate. And it is all addressing, it's climate based, but there's so many new technologies out there and they're coming fast and furious. Geothermal is a place we're engaged in, but it's way past that. And we should be a place that looks at those opportunities.
Well, I wonder if we are missing the word, which is ambition or ambitiously, or leading or cutting edge. And it doesn't, you know, I don't think it needs to be that specific, but it's almost a qualitative statement about our desire to ambitiously go after this. I don't know exactly where that would fit, if that's in the mission statement or one of these. But, you know, if I hear Commissioner Pribble right, he's saying, let's put something in there that expresses our desire to catch up and stay ahead.
And maybe it's, pardon me,
No, please, go ahead.
no, just to say, somehow open to innovation
Yeah.
in some other way.
So what I'm hearing is, to answer Commissioner Pribble's comment, which I think is a good one. There is really nothing in this that's going to constrain us that wouldn't constrain us otherwise. Well, legislature, for example, what this sets forth is where we want to go, not so much how we're going to get there. And it's pretty much, let's go here and we're not going to worry about the speed bumps. We're going to deal with those. I'm hearing from you all that what we don't have is a statement of intention. We talk about we're going to have foster a culture of collaboration, innovation, and continuous improvement. That's sort of in an operating way. You all are feeling the need to have a statement of intentional ambition. So I think that's what we should focus on. That's not inconsistent with what's been developed. I would also offer that we don't know what's out there to respond to yet. The job of the staff pretty much is trying to stay current and find these things. And where the rubber meets the road is actually in those annual project plans that say, with all this, then what are we going to do next year to achieve the things that we say we want to get done? And so I think this is a question for, can we build in the ambition as commissioners and staff every year on, by golly, let's go attend 3 conferences and find 5 new good ideas. That would be an actionable thing to put in the project plan. Or do we want an overarching statement about intent and ambition? And that's what I think.
That's what I was, Madam Chair, I like your simple 2 words. And it could, leave it to the word, the creative genius over here represented by our the contractor. Intentional ambition, that's a lovely statement, very lovely. And it doesn't need to be much longer than that. Just figure out an objective that says this board is going to be, and staff, they're going to be intentionally ambitious about all our goals and consistent with fulfilling the mandate of the Constitution. Leave it at that.
This might be too much, but what if we said we endeavor to be the best and most innovative state land board in the country? Maybe tone it down just a touch. We don't have to say we're number one, but you know, something that expresses our desire to be out there.
And reflect some of the reality
Yeah.
that we already have been.
Well, we already have been, and I think there's more to do.
So those are 2 good thoughts about intention, ambition for the organization at a high level. Assistant Director.
Yeah, commissioners, further down in the document, it's actually page 15 in green and 17. This is the strategic plan report outline. We start to speak to some of this. The very bottom paragraph says Colorado Trust Lands that support a diversified energy portfolio, prioritizing renewable sources and emerging technologies, reflecting market evolution, long-term resource planning, and curtailed greenhouse gas emission. And so that was sort of our attempt at addressing this.
Yes, what page are you on again?
In the red on the bottom, page 17, and page 15 in the green on top.
I like that, but that's a 2051 kind of, that's our long-term version. I think we're feeling urgency. That we want to capture as part of our. I agree with all of that, but I think you're sensing from us an urgency, and we're not restrained by others as other state agencies are. We're not a regulatory body. We're not under the thumb of the legislature in quite the same way. We can kind of do what we want to do. So we have a different level of freedom to be innovative.
And we should exercise.
And we should exercise it. So I like your language, and I think we have to be. This governor loves bold. He's, why don't we kind of frame it boldly? Up front somewhere.
Yes, Director.
Thanks, Chair. I totally appreciate where you're going, Commissioner Scanlon. So on goal 1, we had added in energy in front of mineral, because that really reflects, I think, what we're talking about, the energy piece, solar, wind, geothermal. So objective number 1 under goal 1, we've taken a stab at going in this direction, and also under 5, objective 5, expand partnerships in markets that enhance trust revenue, collaborate with public and private partners to realize new opportunities across trust assets. So this is along the same lines. So welcome language, additional language. I would suggest, something in goal 1, maybe objective 1 or 5. I think 5 kind of lends itself to the direction you're talking about. So
Nicole, you'd mentioned at the top, when we discussed about adding energy and, we're really substituting in renewables, but in particular solar, wind, geothermal. I mean, we could simply state that here to be more explicit, manage land, solar, wind, geothermal, mineral, financial assets. There's just one of the portfolio of assets that we manage that could allow you to articulate that in the same framework.
is that?
I think I kind of where Jim is, it could be anything. I mean, in 10 years, it could be small nuclear reactors. We don't know. And I think we should be open to whatever it might be. We know what we know right now, but these emerging technologies are coming fast and furious, and we should be open to that. So
I think we are open.
we are,
The
I mean,
question
we
of
are
arriving.
It's just where, yes, I don't want to list that.
Right.
That's what I'm saying. It's just where to capture. I think you're right where it should go.
Number 5.
or one. I'm open to either, honestly.
Council?
This is a legal comment, but just a wordsmith, and when I echo your thoughts, because the list isn't going to be exhaustive.
We don't want a
And-
list.
And so you don't want.
Yeah.
But, what if as a suggestion in, objective one, it's strategically and innovatively manage land, energy, and mineral financial assets? You have strategically and innovatively. Is that so first off, to answer Commissioner Pribble's question, no, nothing here is limiting you from doing everything to the limits of your constitutional world. So you guys can reach out and be as innovative as you want. Nothing that is currently in the plan is restrictive. To the degree that you want to communicate to the public, which I think is what I'm hearing, that you want to be on this innovative edge, that's the purpose for my suggestion. I don't know if it has the poetry that one would like in these statements or not, but it does get a form of the word innovate up very early in your
I'm looking at last
materials.
time's strategic plan when it said an innovative land trust funding Colorado schools. This was from last time's strategic plan. And maybe we just want to go back even on that mission instead of using ingenuity. Do we want to say something in the mission?
Yeah, to me, this whole thing seems to be either mission, vision, or foundational principles. Because it's not just specific to one of these goals, it's specific to the whole vision of the organization.
Yeah.
And again, I think it is innovation, but I think it's also ambition. And I don't know
Yeah.
quite what the word is, but it's not just innovation. It's
Mhm.
whatever, getting out ahead,
Right.
becoming the best land trust or land board in the country, that sort of thing. So to me, I agree with Josie. It's something you'd put in the mission, vision, or foundational principle.
It seems that, the mission is what that is sort of, but the vision is sort of like how we accomplish. Is a broader or a subset of how we get that mission done. And what we're talking about is applying intentional ambition to a very not just doing our job, but intentionally enlarging and exploring things. And the question is it a how we do things where it shows up again in all of our annual, here's how we're going to go do some things? Or is it in the vision where we find we have a vision for all of our lands to be thriving and resilient and fund the needs? Somewhere in that vision, that doesn't say what we're doing. It's our vision for how things should be.
Right.
So maybe it is in the foundational principle. Thoughtfully steward, maybe there's some amplification for as the, getting your point, the best land trust or
Ambitiously steward.
You could put it.
as a
mission
leader or
The mission.
through ambitious, what was your word? Your words?
intentional, that we need to be intentional. ambition.
Through intentional ambition, we protect and enhance Colorado State trust lands. Is that bad? I agree. It's a bolder statement than a goal.
Yeah. And I think the goal, the stuff, listed in these three objectives
Reflects that.
outlines,
Yeah.
that's the nuts and bolts of how we do it. But it just seems to me something very early in the document. And I don't know what the right word is, but
Right.
it's what we've been talking about. It just
I
takes
think it's
a little
part-
stronger or
I
something.
think it's part of our mission. I mean, organizations are driven by mission, really. The vision is the big picture.
Mhm.
The mission supports a vision, but our vision's just really big. We're gonna we're gonna do all of this so we can support public schools. That's fabulous, but the mission is what drives the work.
You know, this kind of additional idea, but when I first started this, I wanted our mission and vision to be inspiring.
Right.
I wanted people who would read it would go, whoa.
Mhm.
And so maybe we can just tinker with this a little bit to.
Mhm.
Right, I don't think, not tinker, but like, you guys,
That language.
you know, this is careful and comfortable.
Yes.
It's
Yeah.
like, it captures stretch, you know, we stretched
Right.
out the universe
Right.
of what we are doing and hope to do and how we hope it looks. To have thriving and resilient state trust lands funding all the needs of schools, that's pretty damn ambitious, actually. But it doesn't necessarily
Mhm.
rise out of that unless you know what we're talking about.
Mhm.
So what I struggle with is, you know, wait. Is this a communication issue or is it a,
I think we're just missing a couple of words. I don't want, you know,
Yeah.
I did this exercise with my board for 6 months and it damn near killed me, so we do not want to do that. But I think we're just missing a little bit of the well, I use the word urgency because I think that I feel like sometimes I feel like I'm the only one in the state who recognizes an urgent issue. Our legislature does not. I'm just going to tell you, they proved in this session they do not. And it was frustrating and annoying to me. They killed everything that could pushed us forward. Like, the governor has good goals, but they're all 2030 and they're all going to be pushed. I'm sorry, that's the truth of things. And we had an opportunity in this session and they killed everything. So I'm like, we could do something. So maybe we do something. I'm just telling you all. So I'm feeling a little urgency right now. And maybe it's us right now who can keep pushing on things. And the legislature will have to catch up. Because they're so busy playing politics to their various constituencies. They're not doing anything that's actually moving the needle. I'm on a soapbox because everything died this past week and it's very frustrating. So I think we should put some urgency behind this mission.
We're supposed to approve this tomorrow, right?
Mhm.
Well, should we, I mean, if everyone's good with everything else, should we approve it and then tinker with this after? Is that okay? Or you can't do that?
No, this is it.
This would be ideal today.
Is it a-
yeah, this is it.
Workshop part.
But thank you
If I
for,
may, I would implore us to keep this simple.
It's
Yeah, I
it's
mean,
there.
I think that-
We're just needing
I
a
think
couple.
we're all hearing each other, and at least in my view, we are.
Mhm.
And rather than agonizing over, trying to write a paragraph, you start with the chairs. I think absolutely appropriate, intentionally ambitious, or intentionally ambitious and innovative, and if you using that as your core bullet, all we need is one line to add to wherever it fits most appropriately. We'll leave it to our capable consultant to figure out where that placement is.
I wonder two
We
things.
have a proposal.
Okay,
do it. Yeah.
I'll add my two and then please help us. I was gonna say, really of all of this, I really like our tagline. It has punch, like resilient lands, enduring revenue, better schools. Like,
Yeah.
that's the best elevator speech I've heard for this organization is right there. And I wonder if, with intentional ambition, you could put it in there. My other alternative is, what about the strategic plan? It's one of those things we've fret over right now. We all know what we're trying to do, and maybe there is a resolution that we pass holding ourselves accountable for the ambitious implementation of this plan. Because that's really, it's like what we do in this room, what the staff does every day is how we achieve ambition. So we can have a resolution. Okay.
Commissioner Probert likes your words. Stick them in there and I'll be happy.
We were, I like, well, let's read this. This is good.
Yeah. So I think the idea I think came up a little bit ago, but potentially just replacing the word ingenuity with the words intentional ambition. So it would be, we protect and enhance Colorado's state trust lands with intentional ambition and care to perpetually generate reasonable and consistent revenue for public schools.
I'm fine with that. It's got a little more oomph.
Well, would it be possible that we perhaps do something like a preamble where as a board, we use the word urgent? We feel this urgency with climate and land and something to move forward on these goals.
That's what I'm wondering, like a little resolution or something. Ed, is there a word for us saying we're approving this plan and we intend to implement it ambitiously?
Well, I like the concept, the word preamble. I worry. Lawyerly worries about what that says. What you're saying there seems perfectly acceptable to have some statement somewhere, and certainly GPS may have some ideas about where that's located, that says we want to do this with ambition and urgency. Frankly, you create the ambition and urgency with every month that you meet and the culture that you create and have created it. And so part of me says this is really unnecessary, but I get that you guys feel it's necessary and want to have that statement out to the world. And I don't have an objection to that. I'm not quite sure where we append that in, but we're happy to work on it to figure it out.
So I think yes, Director, go ahead.
Thanks, Chair. I suggest this. I suggest either going in the direction that GPS just indicated. It's a very simple fix. It seems to be getting at a crucial issue, and it's changing the mission. So it's really fundamental. But clearly the commission's aligned on it. It makes sense. The alternative is that this will all be compiled in a published report that Emily is heading up. And we've heard the importance of urgency, of innovation, of intentional ambition. And so we can certainly integrate that into the final published report. So.
And where would you mean a report that would be outside of these simple pages?
Yeah, so one of the exhibits was the final report outline. And so we would these are the strategic plan core elements that we're discussing, but there will be additional narrative within this report. And so if Emily, you have an immediate suggestion about where we can make that emphasis, that would be great. Otherwise, we could come back to you with something. What do you think, Emily? Tomorrow we could come back to you with a suggestion.
Sure. I think right off the top of my head, again, this is Emily Barbo, Public Information Officer. The strategic plan report opens with a letter or a statement that provides context about the process and the key values, the changes, highlights the changes from the last report to this report. And so I think that's the place where I can certainly emphasize this sense of urgency and the energy that we're going to bring to realizing this strategy. And I'll return to this outline and see where there's other opportunities to adjust some of the tone and language so that this feedback's reflected in how we present this to the public.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I'd like to see that, and I'd also like to see if there wasn't a preamble, kind of a statement of, intentional, the commissioners, so it's not just every other strategic plan, the commissioners intentionally will do this, something in the strategic plan, but it's not part of the strategic plan when it comes out. That's all marketing, I guess, yes.
I still am going to advocate strongly because all of the preamble and all the things are fine, but the mission will live forever. And I really I would like all the words with intentional ambition, ingenuity, and care, because that's all of us. We want to be intentional. We want ambition behind this plan and we want to have ingenuity. And that will stay. We can do the marketing now, we can do the push now, we can have a preamble now, but this is what we're going to come, a mission should drive our work. As a nonprofit person, that's what drives your work. And I like your words. I'm with Commissioner Kribble on that. And I think it punches up our mission statement, which while nice could have been the mission statement for many, many commissions of the past land boards.
Yep.
So
I like it.
this is, it kind of captures a little bit of what we're talking about. It captures the ambition we want to have behind this. I feel a sense of urgency when I read that, and we want to do different, and that's ingenuity. So I think that should be our mission statement.
Yeah, I like it.
We have a motion.
Yeah.
No, we don't.
Tomorrow we'll have a Today we have an edit.
And I don't think we should take any more time on it,
Yeah.
but I think this is enough of a change that it feels like it's enough for me to be comfortable with.
I'm seeing some nods.
Yeah.
Comfortable enough for now?
I'm sorry.
See how we feel
May I-
tomorrow.
No, you can't.
Because I really like
It's
the
your word.
additional ambition and ingenuity, and I'd like to drop and care. Because we have stewarding all over the place.
Yeah.
That's about
Okay,
caring.
that's
We're
fine.
not gonna go fast and loose. But intentional ambition and ingenuity sort of says, watch out, here we come.
Right.
Right.
That's fine.
Okay.
Okay.
Carelessly.
Yes.
Recklessly, reckless. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Can we move on?
Yes.
I don't want to beat this horse to death, but is ingenuity really the word?
Do you like innovation better?
I don't know, just kind of wrestling with it truthfully.
A little insight on that was, I think ingenuity came about because everybody felt innovation was
I looked up
worn out.
now, Tracy, all these options for what was ingenuity, and I didn't find anything that was great. Here were the synonyms: creativity, inventiveness, originality, novelty, resourcefulness. So I don't have a.
Are you proposing to take that out altogether, or are you proposing
You
to
need something of that.
innovation? Creativity.
I don't know. I know it's dangerous to wordsmith in a large group.
That's how the camel
Somebody
got
got
invented.
it. I think we're all on the
We're on
same.
the same page, so,
Innovation or ingenuity, I think, are our options.
I like ingenuity because it sounds sort of like crafty coyote.
Yeah.
As opposed to just innovation.
We've innovated to death everywhere.
Mhm.
Innovations every nonprofit.
Somebody go like, huh,
Just to say,
huh,
we use innovation too. I'm like, all right, everybody's innovative.
can you live with it, Josie?
Okay.
Right, the
That's my
care.
question.
the
Okay,
conflict.
and the clock counts down.
And we take out the care, right?
So now we protect and enhance Colorado's state trust lands with intentional ambition and ingenuity to perpetually generate reasonable, consistent revenue for public schools.
I move.
Hey.
Hey.
Okay, well, I'll take you up on that tomorrow.
Well,
Well, I
move
guess what
tomorrow.
I'm struggling with, how can ambition
Thank you,
not? be
everyone. This is
intentional?
tough work. I always say, group.
You can
group
be
wordsmithing.
ambitious with and reckless.
Your
about
whole
it.
die.
Mhm.
We have a lot of examples of.
Well, we sure do.
do.
Okay,
All right,
What more
we're still open to
comments?
other comments, edits of any kind. So thank you. Let's keep going.
Wonderful. I'm much happier. Thanks, Jim.
I wanted to put up just a quick typo that, let's see, it's just in this packet, but for tomorrow. In goal number 3, here we have the building trust among diverse networks. And in the strategy roadmap, it was just left off. So whatever, conforming it for making a decision.
Trust among it is included. It was a typo just in.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, we've got it.
We've got it in the slide deck
Okay.
today.
So I missed that. Did you say we're adding empowering staff and board along with in the first
No, I
line?
think that they've captured empowering staff and commissioners.
Right.
I was only saying that there was a discrepancy in our packet between building diverse networks here and the change that was promulgated by Commissioner Harvey, building trust among diverse networks. This is the right one.
Okay, well, let me suggest then that because we changed number 2 to empower staff and board of commissioners, up in the first line underneath goal number 3, we've only still got staff.
Or add commissioners to that. Gold or that.
Yeah, so we don't have it in this version, but it'll be there tomorrow.
In the high level
Well,
description of the
second
goal,
top
we hadn't talked about that
line.
one.
Here.
Okay.
We get a little bit of an incongruity with ensure long-term organizational excellence by empowering staff
And the board of
and
commissioners
commissioners
to
and
build
building.
trust on diverse networks.
I feel like the commissioners are already empowered. I think empowering staff is a very important thing in an organization. I mean, we already got all the power, let's be honest about that. It's the staff that need to be supported and allowed to have a role and a voice. So I think calling that out is pretty important.
So are you saying on number 2, then you would not want the board?
It's a little tough, just to be honest with you.
Maybe
We
empower
already
to
got
want
all the
number
stuff.
2.
I mean, to be real, we were appointed by the governor. We can say whatever we were gonna say unless it tells us not to.
What about,
And even when.
And number
And
3.
even when he tells us not.
Number 3 speaks mostly to the commissioner.
I get where Commissioner Harvey was going, but now that I think about it, it's really about. We want the staff to be supported in the right way and we wanna hold ourselves accountable to making that culture part of the organization.
yeah, I was referring more to educating commissioners or.
Yeah.
You know, giving us the information we need. I think it's already being done, but I think it's
Well-
worth having some.
So
mention.
you're back
In a
to
way,
number 6.
I think we need our own line. No.
However, I was gonna say it's sort of understood and embedded in number 3,
Mhm.
you know, having operational consistency and consistent governance. Means we have to be educated so we don't step out of line.
Okay.
But that's more where it would go, it seems to me.
Team operations. Yeah, I'm fine. I'm fine with it there. And maybe it's already implied. I just,
Mhm.
and to me, it wasn't giving board more power. It was
Yeah.
making sure
Yeah.
we're informed
I
about
had to
pieces. blah,
I had
blah,
to
blah.
reflect on that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So I'm hearing remove the edit of and commissioners here.
I think so.
Back to what we had, empower staff to contribute.
That's important to call out. I think.
Objections?
Taking it out, right?
Yeah, we're back to where we started.
I think it's a question of if we have to call out something that is sort of built into how the organization runs and achieves consistent governance and decision making. Because that's our job.
Yeah.
And we need.
We're saying we want that.
Okay. Other feedback across, again, we're looking at the whole package today. So no limits here.
Yeah, talking about the 2051 vision.
Yeah, we're ready?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So we do have one additional element that was discussed when we were back. I think it was maybe the first meeting, actually, we met and we talked about how do we think about the next, let's say, 25 years. And some over the horizon vision statement, if you like. Normally in our strategic plans, we see the vision statement sort of purports to the 5-year horizon or the 3-year or the 6 or whatever that might be, as you select. And oops.
We haven't been sharing for about 5 minutes.
Oh, sorry.
Do we have that?
Yeah. It's,
It's in the board.
it's in the follow-up kind of
We'll
memo
go full
stuff.
screen, hold on.
Points.
Thank you.
It's kind of page
I didn't-
15 in the green, 17.
I think when I started
That's where
looking at
starts.
it. Yeah, there's a hard return here. Just wanted to state, we had heard this and discussed sort of the merits of this at a conceptual level. However, as a strategy team, we actually did not dig into this content. So Aaron and I would be supportive of this and so on, but we weren't sort of inside the room. And maybe there's a way director would help.
Sure, absolutely. So, yes, this was a direct response to Commissioner Harvey, your suggestion that we have context that goes beyond 5 years. And so we were taking a stab at really that innovation and urgency that you all were pointing to, and reflecting both, the revenue and the conservation component. And so this is for your consideration. This would be part of the strategic plan published report, but it sort of sets that broader time horizon.
Was this in an updated packet?
Yes, it's
Page 15 in green or 17 in red.
so it'd be in the report outline.
Okay.
It's page 2, agency
Yeah.
timeline. Yeah, you bet. Past, present, and future, the 2051 long-term vision. And so this is where the leadership team got together and really sort of projected what would be our ideal in 2051. If in the intervening 25 years, we were really taking all of these steps to be cutting edge, serving up beneficiaries, taking care of land, diversifying our revenue, responding to evolving markets, particularly in energy. So that's the origins for this, and welcome your input.
And commissioners, this is like, our current strategic plan, how it's kind of like a booklet. I think that's what the outline is.
Yeah, when I read it, I wanted to add sustainable agriculture to that paragraph, almost at the bottom, page 17 in red or 15. When we talk about our trust lands will deliver diversified energy portfolio, prioritize renewable sources, emerging technologies, and all that, and sustainable agriculture.
So just one clarification, because that sentence is about energy. And so I'm wondering if something like in climate smart agriculture
Yeah,
would work, because then it would flow with that.
We do have it, actually, it's the next sentence we mentioned.
so maybe
Sustainable
under that
agriculture.
population growth one.
Yes,
Okay.
sustainable agriculture is there. Does that address your concern, Commissioner Heath? Okay. Thanks, Brian.
Does that help?
Yeah. Yeah, I see you have it in there on this. I think that's good.
Yeah, I like this. I think, I mean, it's hard to be too specific about 20 years from now, but it's pretty clear a lot of this is gonna happen.
Yeah.
And,
There's some specifics in here.
yeah, no, I know, but I mean, and I think we're getting a snapshot this year, at least on my side of the state, of what's ahead. And I think it's really good if the board and the staff, just has this in our foreground of, thinking that far ahead, because 25 years goes fast. And the state's gonna change, so I like this.
I think it's good. I don't want it to get lost,
Mhm.
though. I think it's really an important statement. And I know we provide context in other ways. But it seems like this is important enough that we ought to find a way that it's present with our plan.
I pledge that we will. That's right.
I just, when I look at our plan today and the way, I guess the way I kind of consume our plan is I see it as that booklet and not just a one page thing. And that's how it is the PDF on our website. And I think this helps include that as part of the plan in a way.
Good, I'm glad we have that.
Yeah.
Okay, what's the next?
That's it, really. I mean, we talk about some of the next steps, what we will do tomorrow and so on. But I wouldn't want to rush us through if there are other comments.
I'd like to make a comment for the benefit of the other commissioners, just because I had the privilege of representing us in the 2 days of planning that I participated in. And that is relative to the implementation that we were talking about. Again, a much more nitty gritty process that we kind of marched through, coming up with 15 project plans. So returning to that implementation is so essential. And I have absolutely no doubt, with already the pre-thought that's gone into what are the key things for the next year and 2 years, and what are all the little things under them, that the organization is actually going to be implementing this.
I like the point in the long-term vision where we talk about bold leadership. I forgot what it was, but I like that term bold. And I keep thinking about mission. I know we're trying. I guess I need to let go of it.
That's not what we're hearing. You have partners to embrace this.
The good news is I think we're all on the same page.
Yeah.
That's what I hear.
Yeah. I think it's a really good plan. Thank you, guys.
Really, really good work.
So we do have some thoughts, we'd like you to consider, approval of these plans overnight. If you're like me, you might have a new thought in the morning, but we will reconvene. There are areas that I think we got most of the edits at this point, but we will true up a couple things and make sure that the final is ready for tomorrow. And then staff will begin the discussions and detailed planning and disseminating this if it is approved tomorrow. With some thoughts around how do we distribute this efficiently to the right people and maybe slightly new ways, right? Compared to last time, and then engaging you all in a robust promotion of this throughout the state. Some of the logic and feedback, if you recall, was a commitment on your part to really drive forward, particularly some of the advocacy and the education and outreach around the board. So this would launch a new phase and a new role for each of you, in a sense, to really be pressing forward with some of the concerns we've had around the defensive versus more proactive nature of some of the past plans and pivoting into the future.
This will become a very effective tool for engagement because it's focused, it's specific, and it gives us a platform to collect and share the how we're going to go forward.
I just want to say, I think I was speaking for the board to thank you, Deb, for representing us in this, and to thank staff for the enormous amount of time you have put into this.
Here.
Appreciate it.
Absolutely. It's very good.
Yep.
Well,
Thank you.
that concludes our role for today.
For today.
For today, we'll return in the morning and have a smaller role, we hope. So,
Thank you for all your good works, your resilience.
thank you.
Your
It's been a delight. We're really delighted to get to this point. So, thanks everyone.
Okay.
I know.
We're getting moved there. All right.
For the way
Um,
it's really-
Good luck.
So how are we doing, commissioners? We have this slated to wrap up by 5. That's an hour from now. Do you need a quick break or do you wish to continue? with the
Quick break.
Quick break. All right. That would be 7 minutes.
I got 7 minutes.
We will start at the 11.
Yeah, there we go.
You?
Good job.
Now. They got no source.
Right.
No source.
All right, so for the remaining part of the agenda on our information items, I'm gonna pass it over to Director Rose Marino and take it from there.
Thanks, Chair Crowe. So reporting out the staff report. Some highlights. We had 91 staff leasing actions in the last month, totaling $2.2 million. And the top line of business was ag at $1.6 million, and then recreation at $123,000. The next thing I wanted to mention is we have a new staff person. He's with us today, John Hesse, our new acquisitions and entitlements manager. And I warned him there's a lot of work waiting for him. So welcome, John. Great to have you on board. Yes, and I'm just going to turn it over to Deputy Director Nick Massey for financial performance.
Thank you, Director Rose Marino. In the staff report, just made mention of kind of where we're sitting for the year. A little bit behind where we were last year. And needed to call out that because we had about $11 million of non-simultaneous exchange money that didn't get used in its 2-year window, that gets deposited to the permanent fund. So we're actually 33 million behind where we were this time last year. It's entirely oil. You can imagine there's probably some factors in the world that are causing oil markets to be a little bit dynamic right now. Perhaps a potential upside or something to look forward to is the shocks to price that have been happening in the last 3 months or so are things that we'll start to collect some revenue on. It takes about 3 months for us to collect revenue based on the prices you're seeing in the news. And so we might have a month here at the end of the fiscal year that's pretty strong, and then the beginning of next fiscal year will be really strong, I think, based on current conditions. There was a piece of legislation that went through this year that's gonna divert some of our revenue to school finance. And that's happened to us before. It doesn't put us in a particularly perilous situation. We always make a lot more than we need to run, of course, and meet our statutory obligations. The deposit to the permanent fund will be probably a fair bit smaller than it was last year. And then on that note, we're starting to get comfortable talking about a permanent fund that has an existing balance of about $2 billion. Some of you have joined us when that number was $1.5 billion. So we'll keep doing our good work and generating that revenue, and we'll keep fighting for making sure as much of our revenue as can goes to the permanent fund and stays there. The corpus is inviolable, of course, but we'd like to continue to fight to get some of the permanent fund's revenue itself directed back into the permanent fund. But so yeah, that's a kind of current state of things. Generally, all other lines are up a little bit for the year, and they're going to end strong, and that feels really good. And so you'll get your detailed report for how we did for the full fiscal year a little bit later in the fall. It takes us about 8 weeks to get the books closed at the end of the year. Veronica Ritter-Holtz and her team worked incredibly hard to get the books closed because of so much money, which is a wonderful problem to have. So more detail to come, but if you have any questions, let me know.
Thank you, Nick.
Yeah.
Any questions for Nick? Okay. Next up, wildfire and drought. I know it's probably on all of your minds, and you can see in the staff report measures that staff is taking to prepare for and communicate to our lessees concerning both. I also wanted to highlight the Shadow Mountain Stream project in Jefferson County. where staff is exploring biodiversity and stream restoration project. So, you know, one of those great places where our revenue generation and conservation duties squarely intersect. Just a couple reflections on this particular situation. In my view, the process really worked as it should. We had issued a recreation lease back in 2021 that generated funds for our beneficiaries, but that lessee needed to obtain county approval to go forward with that bike park. Ultimately, Jefferson County rejected the project and the local community mobilized against it. And so with the rejection of the project, that's the end of the story for the Shadow Mountain Bike Park. But what's really wonderful is that our staff then had sustained communications with that local community, and we're now teaming up with them and shaping up this stream restoration project. So I think it's just a wonderful example of exactly the innovation and urgency that you all were just describing in the ecosystem services line of business. And so I know that in the past, there have been concerns when local governments reject permits for projects on state trust lands that's completely within their purview under the Constitution. And we maintain that it's just the process working the way it should. When they decide if they want to reject, we'll pivot. We'll find other ways to generate revenue. So really exciting. Stay tuned on that project. We'll be coming back to you in what I think is clearly a win-win. Also wanted to highlight the geothermal RFP. We are working very closely with the Attorney General's office. We're looking at 11 parcels that have been very well vetted, including with CPW and local governments and the counties. And so we are aiming for an RFP issuance probably late June. Also on the energy front, our April oil and gas lease auction generated almost $750,000, which is substantially higher than the last several oil and gas and helium lease auctions. What's particularly interesting is that a number of these parcels had no surface occupancy stipulations, and that's the highest level of protection that we can provide to a parcel before leasing it for oil and gas and helium, and we still fetched significant revenue even with those stipulations attached. And then I just close by highlighting the temporary access permits. It's actually a delightful read in that you look at the specific TAPs that were part of the staff leasing reports. You find one or two went to Colorado Natural Heritage Program to conduct biodiversity and rare plant surveys. One went to Colorado Natural Areas Program, with which Commissioner Heath is very familiar. CSU, Denver Botanic Gardens, studies of Preble's meadow jumping mouse, rare plants, and everything in between. And this is really a remarkable way, I think, that we do serve that conservation part of our mission, in that we're obtaining more information about what's on our land to really guide us to better manage it for that long-term productivity. So if you don't scour the taps like I do, I would recommend it. And that's all I have for the staff report.
Right. And I guess we're going to hear from Assistant Director, Mr. Massey, on the working group.
You bet. Thank you, Madam Chair. For the record, Nick Massey, Deputy Director, just speaking briefly on what's happening with the 1332 working group. Put a brief memo in your packet, just highlighting exactly where things sit. April was a great meeting. All virtual again. We had a really excellent presentation from representatives of tribal communities, tribal nations, to the working group as part of that, and recommendation drafts were offered from those representatives. and the work group continues to wrestle with the recommendation set that is really gelling quite a bit. It's there's been a lot completed. There's still some work to do for sure. But a significant portion of the remaining meetings is going to be working through and hammering through the draft recommendations. Staff have been very busy in the background, making sure that the language of these recommendations is defensible, supportable, within is accomplishable, and being supportive of the work group. We do get a lot of love from the work group from time to time, and that's nice, and we will continue to strive for that.
So Nick, can I ask you, how much consistency is there between the proposed recommendations from the work group and our strategic plan?
You want to say a few words about thoughts, or I'm happy to. Yep.
You start.
So the recommendations of the work group, in my words, are quite a bit more operational in nature than what we have in our strategic plan. Our strategic plan is that guiding framework. It's the thoughts that underlie our activity. But a lot of the themes that have showed up in our strategic planning, a lot of the stewardship themes, a lot of the language we're using around sustainability, and I would say even like innovation in a sense, are things that are showing up quite often in the work group's draft recommendations. It's a lot of the spirit of it seems like the State Land Board is encouraged to investigate and research and explore a lot more of the opportunity that's out there and go chase it. And I think that's what we represent in our strategic plan as well. It's continue to do good by the land, but go pursue innovation and be more data centric and try to create impact and outcome as opposed to just output, and be able to tell your story better by understanding the conditions in which you operate better. So there's quite a bit of overlap. The work group is anxious to hear from us, from the State Land Board, on what our strategic plan looks like. And because it feels like we're going to get a vote accomplished tomorrow, we're actually going to make a presentation on it to the work group 2 weeks from tomorrow. And I think they're going to be pleased on what they see. I won't speak for them, but I think they're going to see themes that are important to them represented in what we've drafted for this body.
Well said.
Yeah. And so I'll constantly remind us that by February 15th, this body has to consider the recommendations and begin to formulate actions to take as a result of those recommendations. And so between now and then, we'll have certainly one, but probably more than one information session, workshop type activity to get familiar with the material that comes in the report that's due September 1st. And really to dialogue with you commissioners to understand, what do you want to do with it? One of the things that I think about, and so we'll lay that out as soon as we've got kind of a framework in place and timing. One of the things I think about is that our habit as the staff, this board of commissioners has asked the staff to help understand issues that you're voting on by writing up a cover sheet that has a recommendation formulation, makes recommendations. I think that I envision us pursuing a similar structure around the report that comes out in September. I think I intend to work with staff to document for your benefit the kinds of things that we're going to need to address to accomplish those recommendations, how we might go about it, and things we might like to chase, perhaps with additional resources if necessary. And so that when the board is ready to consider on the record with a vote perhaps on how to proceed, you'll have as much information as we can give you about what it looks like to actually implement those recommendations. That's going to be, I want to give you the benefit of having plenty of time to wrestle with that. Because I mean, we're 9 months and 6 months in on building it up in the first place. And I bet we're at 10,000 pages of background material. I mean, it's significant information to teach a group of people who don't know us well about us. And so we don't need to repeat all that, in-depth research, of course. But I would like to have staff present something that's so compelling to you as the board that you really see the alignment, you really see how it fits the strategy. And it's just going to be, I want it to be very matter of fact. I want the discussion to be very matter of fact. There are pieces in there, perhaps that feel too ambitious, too outrageous, maybe. And we want to have a forum where the board is comfortable talking about those things and wrestling with those concepts. The audience that gets the report is pretty broad and includes the governor and big chunks of the governor's cabinet. So, and big chunks of the legislature. So, this is not a light matter, and we'll do great with how we attack it by February 15th. So that's what I had.
Nick, I have a question, and maybe it will pop up in the report out from the Regional Outdoor Conference. But that was just a quick illumination on this process of nominating parcels by the regional partnerships that were established by the Colorado Outdoor Plan.
Yeah.
And is it just our parcels? Is it other parcels? What's the intent, high level?
I could say a few words on kind of what's happened and where we're at with it. As robust a bill as it was, there wasn't a ton of direction on what to do with the recommendations that are made. And so the work group was wrestling with that too, and intends to make a statement on what the work group thinks should happen with the recommendations. I would say that operationally, it's very much just like any one of these regional partnerships had come to our door and said, we have an idea for something you guys should pursue with us. Let's work on it. There's no reason for us to just not start doing it and not tackle it. And so I think staff will probably have staff take a look at the full set of recommendations to the degree that maybe they haven't already, but they have already a little bit, and start to formulate a plan to be in contact with the nominators, understand better what their vision is and why they nominated. Some of the language around the nominations is a little curtailed. It wasn't a wide open forum where you can expound greatly on why exactly you were nominating, but we have some idea. And there is definitely some immediate alignment that makes sense, but there's, some of these parcels I think maybe weren't on our radar. And so we're going to be exploring partnerships entirely newly for the first time in some of these places of the state.
Yeah, it sort of seemed like it could be a conduit for new business development on the rec side.
For sure. There certainly rec showed up quite a bit in the recommendations.
Great, yes.
Yeah, and I would just agree totally with what Nick said, but also we were able to just articulate that this is very much our business model.
That's the thing.
That people who have ideas about what to do with a given parcel for a given use approach us. And I think some of the recommendations may sort of be inverting that and having us look at our entire portfolio and figure out where we want to pursue opportunities for particular lines of business. But I think the most seamless approach is when a prospective customer comes to us with a parcel pinpointed. So I think that was well received by the work group, and we'll see how that recommendation or set of recommendations shakes out.
Thank you.
Welcome.
And now we did have a little commissioner item because I was sad I couldn't go, but I know a couple commissioners attended that conference. I wondered if you had any things to share with the rest of us.
David, do you want to start?
Well, for those of you that aren't familiar with it, the conference is called Partners in Outdoors. And my recollection of the history of it dates back to even before the merger of Colorado State Park Wildlife Agency, which happened in the summer of 2011. So even previous to that, Colorado State Parks Agency held a conference of its partners. Literally everything from, if you think of, well, understand that in the statute, the mission of Colorado State Parks includes the words "and outdoor recreation" to promote and facilitate world-class state park system and promote outdoor recreation. So, back 15 years ago, state parks had an annual spring conference, much smaller than what's developed here today. So to fast forward, it's grown considerably. I mean, I remember attending these conferences years ago when it was 100, 125 people. Now it was nearly 500. I think they had to cap it based on hotel capacity and room meeting capacity. And the audience is literally anybody who doesn't hunt or perhaps fish, although I think there were some angling organizations that were at the conference. And when you understand the demographics of that community in Colorado, it is by far the majority of Coloradans. Keep in mind that somewhere in the range of 5 or 6% at most of Coloradans buy a hunting license on an annual basis. So you can do the math against a population of 6 million or nearly 6 million. About 10% of Coloradans buy fishing licenses, which are much more accessible as a sport than hunting. I mean, if you want a quick education on that, I would encourage you to drive through St. Vrain State Park or the shores of Cherry Creek or Chatfield on a weekend and see families out there, just fishing for panfish or whatever. So attending would be literally every NGO you can think of in what we call, or what the wildlife people call, the non-consumptive world or the outdoor recreation world. So not only big land agencies like the Nature Conservancy or Trust for Public Lands, but also GOCO, which is a major funder of state parks and wildlife based on the Constitutional Amendment, and then just a gazillion different nonprofits, minority or people of color in the outdoors, young people in the outdoors, disabled people in the outdoors, and anybody that sells to them. I mean, so equipment and apparel and there was a vendor there that was selling electric motorized wheelchairs for people with disabilities to move around state parks, as an example. So it's a 2-day conference and very, very well organized, and a multitude of workshops on literally every topic under the sun you can think of with respect to this universe. But Nicole and participated in at least one workshop that we attended. And Josie, of course, was there, and it was a great educational experience, great networking experience, and I encourage any one of you to attend next year. Do know that when you get the registration, it fills up quickly, and you want to sign up right away. The governor spoke. Did a couple of great plenary session speakers that were very motivating and thoughtful, and so a good time, to be sure, a productive time.
And I'll just add that Nicole and Tim Ross presented the working group in a work session, and it was very well attended. And I think people who were there really were trying to get information. I didn't see them as much challenging, questions as trying to figure out, just, for example, how do you nominate a parcel, or how does this whole thing work? So I found that very interesting. And frankly, I would say that was a theme through various folks with whom I visited, when they'd say I was from the State Land Board, they'd say, well, what do you do? So I think that was a big part of it. And I thought Nicole did a very nice job responding to a lot of questions that came from the audience about the working group and the land board. You're very, very well versed on that, and a nice response. A couple other things that, the significant tribal presence, and I think you attended a session prior to the conference on that, and I'm pleased that we're going to have that addition to our staff. Just a couple other things that I thought were interesting. People asked me, when they heard that we're looking at alternative energy, well, how soon is that really financially viable?
Right now.
And
Yesterday.
And, so I think part of something I would like us to do is on a financial plan, look at some of the things that we need to factor in on if geothermal really is, how soon might we actually see some dollars in the door?
Oh, you mean our leases? Oh, I don't know.
Yeah, so that we really are looking at some of these we talk a lot about doing alternative energy, but people said, well, how soon do you see? And of course, we have solar coming in now, but it would be helpful to me to just look at some projections in that. And the other question that just a couple people, that I had dinner with a couple of tribal people from one of the two of the tribes, and they asked about how do you know which lands are out there that might have tribal presence, and I talked about the atlas, and so that was nice just to be able to share what a great resource that is. And then I guess other than that, it really is important to acknowledge the planning group, and Abe was a part of that, and so I think that was a good thing. And finally, as Jim said, the way it's set up, people respond right away. And so it's closed, and Jim and I think we're both on the waiting list, so you don't even know until the end whether you're going to get in and whether you're going to get lodging. So they need to look at this in the future about whether or not they can continue to manage it, because far more than, I think they had 560 attendees and a lot more people who wanted to go. So I think it was very helpful in terms of a couple of workshops I went to were on tourism and on ag, kind of agribusiness and stuff. And so it's clear other people are thinking about some of the things we're thinking about as well.
I'm curious, were there any, and I'm hearkening back to some of our conversations with the Routt County Commissioners and in Chaffey County, I think too. Were there any workshops or any conversations or questions about the whole idea of extractive tourism and the cost to communities and things like that? About your
at least in the ones I attended, no.
Okay, good.
I don't recall any offhand.
I mean, it seems like such a harsh reality for us, and yet I'm not sure that was kind of top of mind for people. I think most people who talk about that say, well, it can just transition to geothermal, and Venice said that's not so easy.
I was thinking more on the tourism side of, like when Routt County was talking about the bicycle, the cycling races and the cost it extracts on the local communities. Because it seemed like it was a developing theme we kept running into.
I will say that the Routt County Youth Corps actually sought me out and said they would really like to do more with us on lands in Routt County. So I had a chance to visit with them, and I'm hoping we can follow up on that.
Yeah, that's great. And Director Rosmarino, did you have anything to add to that from your perspective?
Yes, Chair Frobe. So we had a sizable staff contingent that went and learned our lesson about signing folks up immediately, because you're absolutely right, Commissioner Heath, and Commissioner Pribble, it sells out quickly. But we did have a number of staff attend, and we also sponsored the conference, and I presented to, and then Abe, of course, was on the planning committee. Just wonderful conference, excellent learning opportunity, excellent opportunity to connect with others, as has been described. I wanted to also mention that I reached out to some of the staff that had attended that couldn't be here for the meeting today, and a couple themes arose. One is the Chico Basin field trip that was on the last day was very well attended and very appreciated. And so I think a highlight for some of the attendees, including one of the Parks and Wildlife Commissioners, who then reported out at the last Parks and Wildlife Commission meeting how extraordinary Chico Basin is. And so that is something I wanted to mention. I also wanted to convey from several of the staff just the importance of collaboration with lessees, with communities, with other partners in order to create really durable conservation and stewardship outcomes. And then I had the pleasure of attending a keynote with Commissioner Heath on the power of awe. It was really incredible. And I know Emily's gotten the book from the researcher who's out of Berkeley, Decker Keltner, on this emotion, awe, and how it really has actual psychological and physical benefits on people to experience awe. And the typical application is really awe in nature. And so it's something we should think about, as you all have underscored that we need to be bold, is as nature is increasingly diminished on other land, we have an incredible resource of the ability to convey awe to humans on a place like Chico Basin, on a place like Lowry Ranch or Brett Gray and many others. And so that was a highlight for me. It's part of the why of what we do, and particularly in our duties to make sure that we're ensuring the long-term productivity and sound stewardship of state trust lands. And so that was just lovely, and it was lovely sitting next to you. Enjoy that, Josie. And then I know that you had mentioned the Tribal Summit. I did have the pleasure of attending the Tribal Summit, which was on the morning before the conference began. And it was fantastic. And I hope it lays the foundation for, even more sustained conversations between state government and the 7 tribes that attended. So the Southern Ute and Ute Mountain Ute were there. But in addition, there were representatives of 5 other tribes that longstanding historical and present ties to the state of Colorado. And DNR is holding quarterly meetings with the Southern Ute. And I also had the pleasure of attending the last one that was a month or so ago. So more to come on that. And I know in the cover sheet on 1332, we described that engagement of tribal communities is part of the conversation of that work group. And we look forward to improved practices in regard to tribes. So thanks for reminding me, Commissioner Heath. That was really a special experience for me. Emily, did you have anything to add?
A lot of the same. Yes, there were 560 individual people who attended the conference, which was right at their capacity cap. And they represented over about 260 organizations. And I think one of the things that we've heard reflected from both of our commissioners is that it was really the in-between moments that were quite powerful, of finding folks either that we hadn't met or that I just hadn't talked to in a while, and connecting again in the hallways. Having an in-person meeting continues to be a great way to build momentum and those feelings of connection and opportunities to learn and educate. So I it can be challenging to deal with the logistics of a big event and do the sponsorship stuff and get from one point to another, but those kind of intangibles continue to be incredibly valuable, and I was really glad I was able to go in person.
Great, thank you. I like that, the power of awe.
Yeah, it was
Yes.
really.
That's cool.
And I've tried to think about it every day, you know, just what is it in a day? And the point the speaker made was, it wasn't just all sunsets and amazing ocean views. It was just this moment where you saw the ant carrying the leaf bigger than the ant. Just taking the time to really be in awe. And
Love it.
Yeah,
That's so cool.
that sounds like a good strategy for those of us who can't meditate. That
yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
good.
Wonderful. Well, thank you for that report out,
Yeah,
and
very
next year
cool.
maybe there'll be an even larger contingent. So we're ahead of schedule. Does anybody have anything else that would prohibit us from calling it at this point? No? Because we'll see you bright and early tomorrow morning.
That's
Right.
right. I mean,
The
good
workshop
meeting.
adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you.